Hey there. Someone asked me to show how to do a heads-up display with UFPS. So I immediately thought, well, since I'm going to do this for the new Unity 5 and the new version of UFPS, that I would add a WorldSpace UI. I know it doesn't look all that great, but it updates real time and shows the health. And also I did a little one for each of the weapons. And then if I've got a melee weapon, it will just show the regular UI. Same with the grenades. Or if I switch to first person, it'll show the standard heads-up display. Switch back, it shows this. So this video I'm going to show how I did that with the WorldSpace UI using the newest Unity UI. Alright, to start, I just want to kind of go through the script that I created. I'll paste this on the UFPS forums. So you need to add this using Unity Engine UI. For all my scripts, I create a namespace. That way when I go to add the script, so for instance if I was going to add a script here, they're all in my namespace, which for this one I called red. So that's what this whole namespace is about. The name of the script, this is red underscore, I just called it Hud WorldSpace. So I've got my health information, so I've just got a public text, my health label, and I've got a public slider. This is the health slider, so this is the 0 to 1, which would be 100%. I've got my ammo information, so right now I'm just doing an ammo label. I'm not going to show the icon, so I commented this out. In order to do this icon, you have to actually change some UFPS scripts, so I didn't want to do that. I'm grabbing my VPFP player event handler. I'm grabbing my simple HUD, the VP simple HUD that comes with UFPS, and then I just have a boolean, public boolean, setting it at false. On all your third person, if you're going to do first person and third person mode, you would want to put this on your third person models as well, so that you can have your UI turn on. So start, I'm grabbing my player event handler and I'm grabbing my HUD. I'm doing this in the start function. So in the update function, I am saying if I do not have a health label, so if this was not assigned, then don't do this. So if it is assigned, so if it's not null, then I've got my label. So the player has a health float, and I'm getting that float and multiplying it times 10. And I'm just putting a percentage symbol on the end of it. And I'm converting it to an integer. So this is a float. I'm just forcing it to be an int. Same thing here. I've got the slider. If the slider is not null, then we're going to get the health, and we're actually going to change the slider times 10. And so what that'll look like, I actually pulled the slider up here. It's basically just going to change this value from 0, and notice it's a float value, all the way up to 1. So basically you're going to want this value to be between 0 and 1. So that's why I'm multiplying it by 10. That's what it does. And then for my ammo label, if my ammo label is not null, I'm going to grab the player's current weapon count, and that's in front of the slash mark. And then I'm going to grab the player's current weapon clip count. So that'll be the, like if there's 100 rounds, it'll be the 100. Here I'm just enabling and disabling the HUD whenever this object is enabled. So that's why I have this boolean. I've got it default set to false. So for that script, I assigned it to my for grenade. So what I did is I just didn't assign these health labels or sliders or anything. And I did the show simple HUD. I marked it as true. So I did the same thing on the knife. I marked it as true. And then on the third person weapons, so I did the same thing. I added, so I just do add component scripts. My third, this script that I created, I actually need to add it here. So you go scripts, red, and then you add this script, and you're going to do the show simple HUD. You're going to make it false. So that's why whenever, like if you're in third person view, this script will be enabled. And so therefore the HUD will turn back on, which is what we're telling it to do, because the HUD's just too small in a third person view. So what I did on my actual first person weapons, so I just took my shotgun and I dragged it into the scene, and that's what you can see here. So for my actual first person weapon prefab, I created a WorldSpace canvas. I'll show you how to do that at the last part of the video. And I just put a background on it. I've got text for the ammo portion. I just have it default here to 5500. And I created a slider. And then on top of the slider, I put the text for the health. So on this canvas itself, which I made a child of the weapon, I actually added the WorldSpace HUD, and I just updated it to be, so I've got there's my health label, there's my slider, so it's going to grab it's going to set this, the value right here is what I'm grabbing, and I've got my ammo text as well. And then what I did is I actually made myself a prefab. So I've got some UI prefabs, and then I just drag this prefab onto all my other weapons, so that way you've got a base to start from. And since everything's already assigned and everything's created, it was really quick once you have your layout. This is not, it doesn't look the best, but it works for me. So I'll just show you real quick how to create the canvas and stuff. So you can just go game object UI canvas. I want to make sure this is not a child of anything. Okay, so I've got my canvas. First thing you're going to want to do right here where it says screen space overlay, I changed this to WorldSpace. See if I can see it. So you can see it's huge. I changed my width and height to 400. That way it just kind of, I don't know, that's a 400 pixels is kind of the way you would think of it. And I added a UI image that I'm just using this background, and I actually turned the transparency down to like, I don't know, like 80 or so you can kind of see through it. I left it sliced. So after that I just kind of made this a child of the weapon. and I reset the position, so I zeroed out the position. I'm going to actually zoom in on the shotgun so we can kind of see this. So you can see it is huge compared to the shotgun. So basically I just put this down to 0, 1. And then just kind of shrunk it from there until I got it to, you know, kind of about so you can kind of move it. And then I just kind of, you know, changed my scale and stuff from there. So that's kind of rough. And then I kind of rotated it. And then I just added components to it. So I added my UI slider. So it's a slider component. I got rid of the handle. I turned it off so it's not interactable. And then I just kind of changed, so Alt Shift, just change where it's centered, and you just make your changes. So it's really not that difficult. If you need to learn how to do some UI, there's plenty of videos. I think I changed it to like 240, and you just kind of make your edits to it. You get your background, you get your foreground. So you can make this any color you want. Then you get your background area. So when the slider changes, it shows more of the background color. So that's all I did. I just went through, created the canvas, created the elements that I needed for the script. So you need your text, which is a label. You needed your health, and then add another one. And for this one, I just added this outline component. So you can go to UI effects, and there's a shadow, and there's an outline. I just put an outline around it just to make it more clear. And you're going to want to change the order of it. And that's about it. So it really wasn't all that difficult. I chose to do WorldSpace this time. So I've got another video that kind of does more of the on the screen, but since the hero has a simple HUD script, I'm just using this. So this is where I turned it on, turned it off. That's the show HUD part. You could always delete this and do something else, but I figure I might as well use what comes with it. All right, if anybody has any questions, let me know. Thanks a lot.